Now your bulletin says, 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John. 6 days after what? So the lectionary book, the altar book, fills in. 6 days after Peter had acknowledged Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God, Jesus takes with him to the apostles, his disciples up the mountain. The few closest to him, Peter, James, and John. 6 days after. See, he'd been in Caesarea Philippi for an interesting bit of theater. In Caesarea Philippi, there's the grotto that has the pantheon of the Roman gods and local gods. And it's nearby the marketplace. So you can go to this thing and you go to this place to teach and talk and trade. And Jesus brings his disciples there. And in front of the gods of the day, asks them, who do you say that I am? And Peter, declares that he is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus compliments him, and there's that whole, potentially the power of the keys, that kind of thing. On this rock I'll build my church, that kind of stuff. And then 6 days later, Jesus reveals in dramatic fashion the truth of Peter's declaration. The transfiguration. The word there is metamorphosed. He changed in front of them somehow. And we don't say changed so much. We say transfigured, not transformed, transfigured. That somehow his appearance changes and reveals things in a new way. It's interesting to think about. How did he change in that moment? Obviously his appearance changed, and then it's accompanied by this voice from the heaven and the cloud that all emphasize Jesus' divinity, but he's always been that. Peter could see it. Peter could declare it. He's always been that. It's just being revealed. This cycle of Epiphany that began with the Magi journeying in search of truth, here is revealed in all its literal glory. Nothing really has changed here. Rather, the truth has been revealed to us. A truth that we carry up another mountain to the crucifixion and on to the resurrection. It is this truth revealed that we carry with us into Lent. And so it's the last Sunday after Epiphany. This is the time when we look at the truth. Because nothing really has changed. It's just been revealed to us. Calling to mind all of those instances in our lives where we look around us and worry about a world that has changed. Nothing may have changed. We might just be seeing it for what it is. That's the strangeness of the transfiguration. A transformation that doesn't so much change things as reveal them. In our increasingly bipolar society, one side of the political aisle complains about the presence of marginalized communities that we didn't have in the past. Ways we have to talk that we didn't have to use in the past. And yet those people were always with us. Were always our neighbors. And it's only as society welcomes, acknowledges, affirms, and supports communities on the margins that things get complicated for those of us who are used to being comfortable. Things aren't changing. We're just seeing the truth of one another for the first time. The faces of our neighbors shine where they were once hidden. We're not discovering a new way to talk. We're going through the awkward discomfort of wanting to put people back in booths and compartmentalize them out of sight. We're going through that awkward way of talking about things the way they actually are. On the other side, some of us are surprised to see governments and people acting the way they do. When those people on the margins have told us that that's the way they've always been. The changes in our society, the way that we feel that things might be becoming more cruel or violent. Had we been listening all along, we would know that this is the way it's always been. Just not for some of us. So Jesus carries the disciples up the mountain. Not to see things in a new way. Not to tell them that things have changed so much. But to tell them this is the way things are. In a world of cruelty and chaos and pain and war and violence, this light, this presence of God is at the center of it all. God hasn't changed so much as been revealed to us so that the world might change in that light. Nothing is changing, Peter. You're just using your eyes for the first time. You're seeing the light at the center of it all, the glory to which we're all called, so that our faces might shine before others, that their light might shine in the public square, that we might be a new people renewed in Jesus Christ. He tells them, listen, God says, listen to him. Now that you've seen that things haven't changed, you can go about changing them where they need to be changed. And this requires standing in Caesarea Philippi. It requires going up the mountain, and it requires coming back down. Going into Caesarea Philippi, and before the gods of this age, declaring who God really is. This Jesus, this light, at the center of it all, despite the darkness and shadow of the world, is here, among us, calling us into love and light and peace and joy in ways we haven't been using our eyes and hands and feet for. And so we attune ourselves to the voice from the clouds, from the shadow, calling us back to God and declare our belief in Jesus. Before the gods of the world, the violence and the cruelty and the things that we think are necessary. One thing needful is this Jesus on the mountain whose light shines in our hearts and in our faces. And we need to go up to the mountain. We need to go up into difficult places. Up, out of our usual way of thinking and doing and being. Journeying up the mountain with our fellow disciples. Not to build temples and booths up there to compartmentalize our feelings and the people that make us uncomfortable. But to be with one another, to be touched by God, so that we can reconnect with one another and with the heaven that we can live in even now. And then it means coming off the mountain. Coming off the mountain back into Caesarea Philippi, back into the marketplaces. Bringing that God to others in song, in speech, in assistance, in proclamation. Our eyes are looking for the very first time in a long time. Things haven't changed. We're just seeing them revealed for what they are. But declaring that, hey, maybe one day they might change. Maybe we might break out of the cycles of scapegoating and violence and terror that are so often humans' default position. We can come off from the mountain and shine before the world. If we're willing to listen to the voice of Jesus, if we're willing to see that light at the center of it. We're told that this takes about a week. It's a process of seeing Jesus for the first time and then really getting it. It takes time. It takes proclamation. It takes a few lines in the lectionary just to let you know where we are. But this is the season Jesus tells the disciples, keep this quiet for now. Because you're not quite going to understand what just happened. You've got it. You've heard it from the heavens. But none of this is going to make real sense until the end of the next season. We're going through Lent as that process, grappling with what it means to have a God at the center of all of this shadow. What it means to follow a God of light amidst the darkness. What it means to listen to that voice booming from the cloud. And then one day it will all make sense. When sin and injustice and violence and death itself are conquered. And God will lift us up in the garden. Will lift us up by the stone and say he is risen. And God willing, we will rise too.